It's been scientifically proven it takes the human body 3 weeks to die of starvation. Like we're resetting every day. We're not going 3 weeks. Nobody is starving themselves. Nobody is doing that. And I also look at like a great reference for me, because people say, how do you get your mind state to that? And I go, for me, this is me again. I'm not telling anybody else to think this way. But for me, knowing I have ancestors that were slaves in this country, and I know that they were out in the fields, they didn't have access to snack meals and, like 5 square meals a day and breaking it down. Like, they were lucky they ate once a day.
Yeah! What's up, everybody? Your life alchemist, your dragon. Welcome to Alchemize Life. I'm your host, Justin David Carl. This is a show where I seek out and share expertise, wisdom, and thought leadership in all domains with the mission of empowering and inspiring you to proactively design and truly live a life worth living. We're all in this together, and when we do the work together, we go so much farther, so much faster, and have so much more fun. Without further ado, let's dig into this episode and alchemize life. John Lewis, badass vegan. It is so good to have you on the show, brother. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm amazing, man. I appreciate the invite too. Thank you, man.
Of course. Well, before I introduce you, I want to just talk about one thing. You made this analogy between drugs and processed food. Can you break that down for me?
Well, yeah, like I always looked at like the food industry as one big drug dealer, and people don't think about looking at this, but one thing I always say, the government got a lot of things wrong, but the one thing they got right is when they called it the FDA, because food is a drug. It's the Food and Drug Administration. So if you really think about it, food is the most addictive thing we'll ever put in our body. And if you don't think so, if somebody tries to tell you not to eat a certain food, your automatic reaction, especially if it's your favorite food, you're going to get fucking angry. You're going to get mad. You're going to be like, don't tell me what to eat. This is my shit. Like, how many times do vegans say something to somebody and they're like, I'm going to eat what I'm going to eat. I'm going to eat double that because you told me not to eat it. Like, things like that. So when you look at it that way, one of the best food items that I can think of is when we talk about like how an item can be cut down from its purest form. Like if you look at, and I'm not telling anybody to go do cocaine. This is not what I'm saying. I'm using this as a reference. If you use a drug dealer, they can take a brick of cocaine and break it down and add all these additives. And not only do they make it more addictive, they make it more pleasurable. And you only want that item. You don't want anything else. You want that item. A great example that I use for that is, and I'll break it down like this. Have you ever just had cranberries by themselves?
Yes.
And
no. Have I?
You probably maybe once by accident. Many people have never had just cranberries. But you know why you've never just had cranberries? Because they're the most awful fucking fruit that you've ever had in your life. But Ocean Spray was like, I know how to make this shit addictive. I know how to make this shit more pleasurable. I know how to make you come back for more. Like nobody will eat a pound of cranberries, but they'll fuck up a bottle of cranberry juice in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Because of all the additives and all the new stuff and all the chemicals. Now, chemicals is not necessarily a bad word because everything is made of chemicals. I understand that. But it's all these different things that are added that if you thought about it in its natural form, you're not even going to touch it.
Yeah.
But if you add all this other stuff to it, now everybody's a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like when people say you need cranberry juice because you got a UTI, they're not talking about Ocean Spray. They're talking about you need cranberries, not like, but we don't think like that because we've been so accustomed to thinking like that. And that's my analogy to, the whole drug, basically, monopoly that's going on. And that breaks all the way down to McDonald's, to Kentucky Fried Chicken, to whatever it is, whatever food items that you're eating that's like dairy and meat and all that, they're doing the same thing. They're breaking it down. That's why they're able to charge you $1 for a hamburger, outside of the subsidies that they're also getting too. But it's broken down and spliced down so much that it has so many additives in it that is cheap for them at that point,
Yeah.
and it's more addictive.
Yeah. It's crazy. When I first heard that from you, it like totally blew my mind. I was like, holy shit, he's totally right. They are literally like cutting up a pound of like pure coca and putting a bunch of crap in it. So now it's like they have twice as much or 3 times as much, so they can sell 2 to 3 times as much and make way more freaking money. And it's way more addictive because it's got all this extra weird stuff in it.
Yep.
And then the like side effects are like, you know, crazy high. Because like, you know, they've done plenty of research. Like people who eat like pure coca leaves, totally fine. No addictions, no side effects, nothing. But like hyper processed pure cocaine, people are dying from that shit.
Exactly. And it goes across the board. You just got to really look at like the way, especially United States. I mean, other countries may not be as bad, but just in the United States alone, the amount of products that we have that are an alternative to the actual thing is crazy. It's just, it's nuts. And it even goes back to the source as well. Like the cows of today are not the same size as a cow that was out 100 years ago. The chicken, you know, is not the same size. I don't care if it's fucking grass-fed, corn-fed, whatever it is, they're not the original version that was there. So when people always say, well, our ancestors ate this and that, I'm like, yeah, but guess what? We're not in our ancestors' time. So you can get mad and you can try to protest, but at the end of the day, you're still eating fucking crap. I don't care if I make up a lot of memes, as you probably know on my page. One of the memes I always say is that cancer doesn't care if your meat was grass-fed. It really doesn't care. You're still eating fucked up things. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, your body's like, this is not supposed to be in here. Why are we putting this in here? And now it's fighting against it.
Yeah. Well, before we get too far into this conversation, let me make sure I introduce you so everyone knows just who the badass vegan is, aka John Lewis. So you're a serial entrepreneur, you're a filmmaker, you're an icon in the vegan movement, you're an author, a change maker in health, fitness, and race and equality, and so much more. Man, I'm so grateful to have you on the show. You're definitely one of the people who inspired me on my own like vegan fitness journey, and like you're also one of the most entertaining people to watch online. Like, so if you haven't checked out the badass vegan on Instagram, definitely give him a look. You'll be entertained, educated, and empowered. So, you know, one of the first places I really want to start with you, John, is your entrepreneurial journey, because like you, I mean, you just told me before we started recording, you got an NFT coming, you got a fitness app coming. I mean, you got a comic book coming. You're speaking to my inner child with the comic book. Like I was obsessed with comic books. So like, how'd you get started in like, you know, becoming an entrepreneur? You know, take us back.
I think it honestly, it has to go with two things. My brother and my mother. My mother was just one of those people that just didn't shoot down dreams. She was just like, if you want it, you got to go for it. Now, understand, you're going to, and my mom, when people say, why do you curse so much? I'm like, I get it literally from my mom. Sorry. Like it is like my mom didn't want to always admit to that, but I cursed a lot because of my mom. And she would be like, if you fucking want it, you can go get it, but you're going to have to fucking work for it. As long as you understand that what you want, you're going to have to work for it. You can have whatever you want. And my brother owned a screen printing company when I was a kid, like early on. And he actually got his degree in commercial arts. So he was always an artist. And it made me into a semi-artist. I am nowhere near a professional, but I can put my thoughts on paper to where I can give it to an artist and they'd be like, oh, I understand what you want. So that's what helped me. And I just started to see like around the year 2001, 2002 is when like the internet really, really was open for everybody. So my fraternity, shout out to Kappa Alpha Psi, I pledged at an undergrad, and I was in charge of all of our party invites, all of our flyers, everything. And I started to notice that like I was able to plan, I'm not even exaggerating, we would make like $20,000 off of a party in college. So like, and it would be from just the planning of the beginning all the way to the end, from the security to the DJ to the bar to the everything. We just made a full experience. And so I like took that when I went to grad school. I was like, man, I can do my own thing here. And that's just where it just took off for me. So I've always had that entrepreneurial like background, but I just took what my brother taught me and just ran with it. Like literally, it's almost like a flea flicker. Like he did most of the work and then flicked it back to me on the other side of the field. And I had an open way and I just ran all the way to the end zone with it.
I love that. Okay, so after the kind of, entrepreneurial, endeavors with your fraternity, what was kind of like the next few things that you started after you finished college?
Well, I was a manager at a cell phone store, Singular, no longer around anymore. But I was a manager at Singular for like 2 years after I graduated undergrad. And I'm one of those people like, I am not satisfied ever. Like I can literally win an Oscar this year. And I'm like, ooh, that's nice. Let's go. I got some more to do. And so like, I was satisfied while I was there, but I wasn't necessarily content. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, okay, I'm making a little money here, but I noticed I was working with high school students too with no degree, and we're making like the same salary. And I'm like, wait a minute, something's not right. So I started looking at grad school, and I was in St. Louis at the time, and I started looking at Miami. And of course it was Miami. So that just kind of, helped out a lot with everything. And I got accepted to school, which mind you, I'm shocked I even got accepted because they needed a 2.5 GPA to get in. I think I had like a 2.52. And I've never been so excited to be mediocre in my life. Like I've never been so, I was like, I was actually celebrating that I had a 2.52. Like, yes, I fucking made it. Like, let's go. So when I got to the grad school, I went to Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale. And one of the things that really led me to go there to get my MBA there is that the name of the business school is the H. Wayne Huizenga School of Entrepreneurship and Business. And it was the only school that had entrepreneurship in the title of the school. For anybody that knows who H. Wayne Huizenga is, he's the guy that started Blockbuster Video, Waste Management. He owned the Miami Dolphins at the time, to the point where the Miami Dolphins practice facility was on our campus. So I went down there. I was just like, I had this whole goal of like, oh, I'm about to change everything. And I'm glad I did. It was probably one of the best moves I ever made. And I did my internship with the Dolphins, actually, which was huge. And then I got to network, and I understood the importance of networking. And I've always understood that. Even when I was an undergrad and we were throwing those parties, I was the guy walking around a college party asking everybody, hey, is everything okay? Hey, how you having a good time? Everything's good? Now, mind you, I probably couldn't do shit about it if they were having a bad time, but I always asked. Like, I knew the importance of just customer relations. And so when I got to Miami, I started meeting all these like bigwigs and, athletes. And I'm 6'6", like 230, and I'm in my best shape of my life at that point. And so everybody thought I was like in the NBA. And I'm like, no, I'm just here for grad school. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. You're very modest. I'm like, no, I'm telling you the truth. I'm just here for grad school. But then I started hanging out with more NBA players and NFL players. And so I just really started to learn the game. And then I started the venture Badass Vegan in 2008. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the P90X workout program, but if you ever want to laugh, go look at the commercials and the infomercials and you'll see me on there.
So are you in the program or just the infomercials?
Just the infomercials. So I actually did the program after it released. And a good friend of mine, he saw my results and he's like, man, you should send this to Carl Deichler, which he knew Carl Deichler, the guy that owned P90X. And I'm like, no, I have body dysmorphia like crazy. I'm willing to admit it. I could be at 2% body fat and I'm still gonna think I got 20. So I did real well. I had knee surgery right before I started the program, which was my second knee surgery. And I just gained weight. I was just sitting on the couch, just eating. I was vegetarian at the time. So vegetarian can still eat cakes and cupcakes, and whatever you name it, I was still going in. And I looked up and I was back at like 250. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. This is not what I want to do. So when I had a lot of success with the P90X infomercials and commercials, it sparked me again, like, wait a minute, I can go do my own thing. Because I'm helping out all these people on my own time, and it's taking up a lot of time from me. Then why don't I start my own thing? And that's how Badass Vegan came about. And then it's been a smooth ride since.
I love that. Yeah, so I was a huge fan of P90X. I definitely did it like, I don't know, probably three full times, if not more. Loved P90X. It's still a good system. Like I still tell people like, oh, you want to work out at home? You should look at P90X. Like it's like it got everything from like strength training to like yoga in it as well as cardio. And it's like, I still have the dumbbells that I bought for that program. I got some like Bowflex dumbbells and they're still with me like 20 years later. It's crazy.
It's a hell of a program. It's a hell of a program. Like I incorporate a lot of things from it into what I do today still. It was just one of those things that fell right on my lap. And it was like, all right, I'll give this thing a try. I was like, man, at home workout, this is bullshit. I'm not whatever. And then I did, and like you said, I did 4 rounds of it. So I basically did a whole year. So I would do 90 days, take a week off, do 90 days again, take a week off, do 90 days. And then I at the end of a year, I was like, wow, like I was so impressed with the results I had.
That's amazing. So help me and the audience understand, like, what exactly is Badass Vegan? Like, what does it, as a company, like, what does it do? It's like you started Badass Vegan, but like, you know, what does Badass Vegan do? What did it do and what does it do now?
Well, the original concept of Badass Vegan was like a Facebook for vegans. That's what I wanted to do. And then I realized how fucking expensive that would be. I was like, you know what? If I came up with a resource where everybody can post their pictures, they won't have to worry about, you know, certain things on their timeline, whether it be meat or whatever, you know, whatever it is, people hunting, throwing a trophy, you know, whatever it is. I wanted to be that resource. And then, like I said, I saw like, wow, this is going to cost me a lot more than what I thought it was going to cost. And then that's when it just became like a health and fitness kind of tutorial. But then people like associated it with me, and then I became the Badass Vegan. It was never intended to be me. It was supposed to be everybody's a badass vegan. If you're vegan, you're a badass vegan automatically. And so when that happened, I just kind of took the reins, and the main objective, even with the website being like a Facebook kind of thing, was to empower people that they can take control of their life and live their best life. And that's been since day one to right now. That's still the premise of it. And it's the umbrella for a lot of things that I've done under that. Yeah. Whether it be, you know, the comic strip, me directing movies or documentaries, the protein shake company, whether it be the fitness app that I got going on, whether it's been me modeling as well, because I've done, you know, commercials, and from Champion to I can't P90X, everything. It's always been under this umbrella.
Look at that. I should have put underwear model at the top of the list. Amazing. Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, before we dive more into your entrepreneurial pursuits and like all the awesome stuff you're doing there, like why'd you go vegan? Like, how did that all come about?
You know, I was one of those people, which there's a lot of people like this. I always thought I wanted to be vegan growing up. You know, like just as a kid, like nobody wants to hurt animals. Like nobody does. You know, we're taught that, you know, like, and I understand there was a time where hunting was a necessity, or so they thought, you know, like they also didn't have the knowledge of what we know about plant-based eating at the time as well. I just had somebody comment on a post I made the other day, and he was like, come on, man, you know, like we need meat. Our caveman ancestors ate meat and this and that. And I can be an asshole sometimes, but I can only I'm only an asshole to somebody who's being an asshole to me. I'm not just starting off from the jump. And I was like, that's interesting that you say about, you know, your ancestors eating meat, and that's why you do it today. I was like, did you know that they also had sex with their children and ate their own shit? Are you still doing that too? and like, he actually blocked me, and but I'm like, you can talk shit, like you can take shit back. Like, don't get mad. So that I look at that and the history of like what we did, and that helped me lead that way. But the deciding factor was my mom was diagnosed with colon cancer. And I remember talking to the doctors, like, how did this happen? What's going on? And they were like, too much animal protein, you know, fried fatty foods. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is not a hereditary thing? He's like, no, this is a lifestyle choice. And I didn't go vegan immediately, but I was already vegetarian at the time. But the more and more research that I did, I just saw that all these diseases, not just cancer, were related to the ingestion of animal protein, whether it was hypertension, heart disease, you know, the list just went on. Like we don't even have enough time in this podcast to name all the shit that's associated with it. So that was a big thing for me. And I didn't go vegan to start a company. I didn't go vegan to get popular. I didn't go vegan to try to like be the ultimate vegan or anything like that, which I don't think there is such thing. And it just panned out that way. And I think more people relate to the story because we've all lost someone too early to dietary choices. Not by a gun, not by a car accident, not by this. Like literally, we eat ourselves to death. And it's like, why not change that narrative and eat ourselves to thrive as long as we're here? Like, I'm not saying that you're not going to die as a vegan, but why not make it quality years and not just quantity?
I love that. Yeah, I mean, similar case for me. So I went vegan out of a vain pursuit. Like I saw the Game Changers and I was like, I saw like Nimai and Misha, the bodybuilders, and I was like, oh, what? What the fuck? Like you can be jacked and vegan? Right. I was like, all right. And then all the athletes in that were talking about like enhanced recovery and like, you know, enhanced performance. And I was like, wait, you're telling me I can work out more frequently and like perform even more if I go vegan? I was like, fuck it. Like, let me give it a shot. So I did that, and, you know, I'm like a total nerd. I track everything, and I literally watched, you know, because I measure my body fat, my muscle mass, and my weight, as well as every single exercise I do, like how much like poundage I'm moving. Yeah. And I watched my body fat come down. I watched my muscle mass go up and my strength improve, and I could work out more days in a week. And like I'd recover faster, and I was like, "This is the holy trinity! Like this is amazing." You're telling me I can get more jacked and ripped, and like work out more frequently, and then not to mention like, you know, just feeling better, like emotionally, clarity of like thought, and then I went down the rabbit hole, started reading about it, and, you know, prior to going vegan, both my mom had breast cancer, double mastectomy, and my dad has prostate cancer. And, you know, I basically learned that like by consuming, you know, animal and dairy products, like you radically increase your chances of cancer, like something like 400% if you consume, you know, 4 or more servings of dairy a day, which like that's pretty easy to do. You have a cup of yogurt and a glass of milk and you're pretty much there. And I was like, I don't want to have cancer like my dad. Like my dad having cancer and my mom having cancer was emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and probably even physically the most stressful thing I've ever been through. So like, why would I put my wife through that? Why would I put my, you know, if I ever have kids, why would I put my brothers through that? So I was like, I'm going to stay vegan. Because it's going to take, like, I can't go vegan when I get cancer. Like, right? You know what I mean? I got to go vegan and stay vegan for like 40 years to avoid getting cancer. So that's like one of the biggest reasons I stayed vegan. Then, of course, then I start to see like, you know, the positive impact on the environment going vegan has. And, you know, like I don't want to contribute to hurting animals. Like I loved like animals as a kid. I had so many freaking pets. Like I was obsessed with animals as a child, and you know I still love them. So like, you know, and it's like crazy. Like people eat a cow, but they won't eat their dog. But like in other parts of the world, people do eat dogs. Like, you know what I mean? Right. So it just doesn't make any sense.
Or they'll drink cow dairy, but they wouldn't drink gorilla dairy. Like they're grossed out. If you say hey, the thing that's got the closest DNA to humans, I won't even go into like if we're cousins or whatever, because I know people get real sensitive about that. But if you go to something that's got the closest DNA to us, that's disgusting. That is just flat out horrible. Or you can't even get somebody to drink human breast milk. They think that's disgusting. But let me give you this milk of a 2,000-pound cow. And that's great, right? That's awesome. And then we wonder why we have so many complications. Like, if you really think about it, like again, another meme I made up, I was like, if you think that the milk from another animal will make you healthy, then you also think that the sperm from another animal will make you pregnant. Like, it's not for us. It's for, that milk is literally for a calf to grow into a 2,000-pound animal in less than a year. Yeah. It takes a human 18 to 22 years to get to where it's supposed to be. So you're taking the concentrated version of this growth serum, dump it into a human who's never supposed to be 2,000 pounds. And if anybody believes that a human is supposed to be 2,000 pounds, we got a whole nother meeting that we need to have personally. If you think about that, and if you just step back and just understand, like, man, maybe we shouldn't be consuming that. I think that's the first step to even going vegan, is like understanding the dairy part, and then you can get to the meat part. Like, dairy itself is just horrible in itself.
Yeah, I think it's tough though, because, you know, at the top of the conversation, we just talked about like essentially how these companies like process all this food. So like you take dairy and you mix it with a bunch of like, you know, sugar and flavoring, and you got ice cream, and that shit tastes like amazing. And it literally, like, you talk about drugs, ice cream is a drug for sure. Like when you start,
it's a category.
You can't stop eating ice cream. Like you'll eat the whole freaking pint of ice cream, no problem. Like if you don't have, you know, any self-control. And, you know, prior to going vegan, for sure, eating a whole pint of, you know, ice cream in a sitting, maybe a few.
I still made it as a just vegan version. Like that's not necessarily the best thing either, but I probably have.
Yeah. All right. Well, how would you share, like, you know, like for someone who's interested in becoming more vegan or plant-based, like, you know, like I'm sure you've talked to thousands and thousands of people and given tons of speeches about this. Like, what are kind of like some thoughts or things that you would share for someone who's interested in becoming more plant-based, but isn't there yet? They're still addicted to, you know, the dairy and the animal products.
And it's something I cover in the book as well. And there's a couple steps that go with it. One, nobody can solve a problem until they admit there's a problem. That's the biggest thing. One of the biggest things, we all want to solve a problem, but we won't admit that we have a problem. I need to save more money. Well, do you have a money problem? Like, people don't even want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the money problems. They don't want to talk about the health problems. You know, I want to be healthier. Okay, well, what are you suffering from that makes you want to be healthier? And then if you get to the root of that, if you see that these health disparities that you have are related to the food you have, then you have to also be willing to admit that I need to change these food sources. That's one of the first things. Two, to go vegan, there is no special club. There's no entry fee. There's no application you got to fill out. You don't even have to make an announcement. You can just go vegan. Like nobody, I think that's one of the biggest problems. Everybody wants to announce it. Then they get so much hate on it. And I was very fortunate. It's been 16 years for me now. When I went, I didn't make a big announcement. Nobody knew. I just did it. And like, I just gave everybody the middle finger, like, fuck you, I'm going vegan. That's it. And of course I got some backlash, but it wasn't a big social media thing. So I think that helped me out. So if you need to do it in the privacy of your own home, do what you got to do. That's a big thing. And I would say the next thing, which is a major thing I talk about in the book, is like the first 30 days is about having fun with going vegan. A lot of times people go and they start thinking about what they're going to miss instead of what they're going to gain. And then automatically you're set back. So the first 30 days, what I say is do everything, eat everything. There's over 70,000 edible fruits and vegetables on this earth. 70,000. We eat the same 4 to 6 animals every day. So there's way more variety than people think. And when I say, you know, treat the first 30 days like any relationship, like I'm gonna get a little graphic here, but we're adults, we can talk. I think that remember when you first got in a relationship, any relationship, let's be honest, you're having sex everywhere. You're in the bathroom, at the restaurant, you're at the hotel, wherever it is, you're getting it in because you two are learning each other. You're learning your likes and dislikes. Don't touch me there, touch me there, touch me there again, like whatever it is. You're learning each other and you're learning what you both like and dislike. So do the same thing with vegan food. That first 30 days, I don't want you to worry about losing weight, gaining weight, maintaining weight. I want you to find out what you like as food goes. And then after that first 30 days, that's when you can go, you know what? I want to gain some weight or I want to lose some weight. And if you want to lose, you eat less of what you like. If you want to gain, you eat more of what you like. And if you want to maintain, you just keep fucking doing what you've been doing for that last 30 days. It's really not rocket science, but people like to make it into rocket science because it makes them feel more important. Like, you came to me for veganism and I'm the one that gave you, like, the formula is so easy. And I think that's the way to do it, is that once you figure out what you like, you just made life that much easier.
Hey there, just a few words about the incredible show sponsors for today's episode, and then we'll dig right back in. Today's show is brought to you by Veg Nutrition. Live better. So I'm actually a veg elite athlete, and before I joined the team, I spent months doing my due diligence to make sure that the company was vision, mission, and value aligned with me, my values, my mission, my vision, and my lifestyle. I got to know the owners super well. I even got to know the person who formulates all the products, and they passed with flying colors. So I couldn't be more excited to represent a company that I feel so aligned with. And I want to tell you about two of my favorite products. The first is the veg pre-workout. So when I first went vegan, or mostly vegan, the last thing for me to go fully vegan was finding a vegan pre-workout that gave me the focus, the energy, and the power that I was looking for. And I can tell you, this is the best pre-workout that I've ever had. It gives me incredible focus and energy. And what's probably the best is it leaves me with no crash after I take it, which is great. And the flavors are so freaking good. There's literally peach mango and a Patriot Pop that tastes like, the firecracker popsicles, cherry lemon lime flavor. They're literally so good that I can dry scoop them. And they just released a watermelon flavor for just in time for summer, and it's incredible. So that's the first product. The second product is arguably also my favorite, and that's the plant protein. It comes in 3 incredible flavors: chocolate peanut butter, vanilla ice cream, and cold brew coffee. Yep, you heard me. Cold brew coffee flavor. It tastes incredible, all 3 flavors. 25 grams of protein, fully organic, incredible ingredients, heavy metal tested, and it is my go-to post-workout. Make sure that I'm recovering and refueling and giving my muscles the protein that they need to rebuild for that next workout. So go to vegnutrition.com/dragon and try their full line of supplements, and you'll get 15% off. Or you can just use Dragon at checkout and you'll get 15% off. So that's vegnutrition.com/dragon to get 15% off. Veg Nutrition. Live better. So one of my biggest kind of principles is like follow the fun in fitness, in money, in life, in business, in general. Because if you follow the fun, like, you don't get bored, you don't get like annoyed, you don't get upset or angry, because you're like literally just going after what's fun for you. And I think when people who kind of try the vegan lifestyle and give up on it, is because they just like only try a couple things and they're like, that didn't work for me. Like, you know what I mean? They didn't go all out and be like, hey, I'm going to try,
Well, not only that, they went from eating like cheeseburgers and steaks and whatever they fucking enjoyed to kale juice. And then they're like, well, this is bullshit. You're like, yeah, of course it's bullshit. You literally just got rid of all the fun and flavor that's available out there. Now, I'm not saying you got to go eat the mock meats, because I make most of my stuff at home. That's a lot what the book is about. Like, I can say 99% of the food I eat is made at home. Even when I travel, and I travel like I average about 100,000 sky miles a year. And I bring my food with me no matter where I go. Now, I'll probably have one day where I'll enjoy a restaurant in the city that I'm at. But for the most part, I bring everything with me but I enjoy everything I'm eating. So I'm not limiting myself. I'm actually enjoying what I'm eating.
Yeah.
That's the factor that people forget about. It's like, just because you're living healthy doesn't mean you don't have to enjoy being healthy.
Yeah.
That's defeats the purpose. Like, why would I be my healthiest self, but I'm depressed the whole fucking time? Like, have fun and enjoy it. But yeah, like if you're going from this certain type of food to now you're drinking celery juice and you're drinking like water with charcoal in it. Like, yeah, okay, like, yeah, of course you're fucking depressed. When people come out with these studies and say vegans are more depressed than average people. Yeah, those people are fucking depressed. They are, because they went from they went from having fun to now they're just basically just on the earth taking up space.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, in terms of following the fun, like one of the easiest things to do to make it fun is just like find the vegan version of the things that you loved before, like, or create it. There's like literally like either some company makes a version of it, or some like food blogger or like, social media influencer who's like all about like making vegan food has created it.
Yes.
And you can find the version of like pretty much everything that you love. Vegan pizza, vegan burgers, like vegan cookies, vegan ice cream, like vegan candy bars, like all sorts of stuff. And like, of course, like if you're eating vegan pizza, burgers, ice cream, and candy bars, you're definitely like your fitness probably not going to increase. Just like if you ate that, as a non-vegan, as an omnivore, like your fitness is going to suffer. But I think in terms of transitioning, like it's like find all your favorite meals, find a vegan version, and like follow that fun. So that's absolutely genius. So the book is called Badass Vegan, Fuel Your Body, Fuck the System, and Live Your Life Right. Boom. It's got it back there. If I ever put this on video, we'll definitely put that in there.
There you go.
Boom. It's available for pre-order on Amazon already. Maybe some other places. Comes out March 14th, 2023.
Global and all kinds of places, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so tell us what else is in the book.
Everything from my journey, how I started, how I got into it, why I do it. It's bigger than just, I just want to be healthy. Like I encompass, there are so many, like you said, you go down the rabbit hole once you go vegan. You start to learn about the animal rights side, the human rights side. A lot of people don't understand that part, which is a big part of my film. The human rights side, how it affects the earth, how it affects the ecosystem, how it affects so many things in a positive way as going vegan. Now, I know now is there room for growth? Hell yeah, there's room for growth. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect system at all. I will never say it's a perfect system. I know there's more that can be done, but as far as causing the minimal amount of harm to the earth and to the people and to the animals, it's the way to go. Yeah. And it's all about creating the minimal amount. So I talk about that, talk about fasting, which I've been fasting for 10 years now. Been a big thing for me. My mentor, Jim Morris, shout out to him, rest in peace. He taught me about fasting. I had already been fasting without even knowing it. I was big on like not eating till like 12 o'clock. That was my big thing. And then when I started learning from him, I've been doing what they call one meal a day, but more of an hour since 2012. And of course, I've slipped up a couple times in there, and that's when I've noticed that my health wasn't where I wanted it to be when I'm not on point with that. But as of 2012, 10 years, I've definitely been incorporating that, and it's been the biggest, I think, like health advantage I've had. Now, I'm not telling anybody else they got to do that, but for me, that's been the biggest thing that's helped me out. Being obese, I was obese as a child. I was 315 as a freshman in high school. And I wasn't 6'6" yet, so it was a little noticeable. But it helped me with, any struggles I had with dietary foods and things like that. And it just really helped me out. So I talk about that. I talk about how other people can transition, how to make it easier, why they should do it, how to stick to it. I think that's a big factor that a lot of people never talk about. They always want to talk about you should go vegan and what you should do. But then they don't talk about like when you go to your uncle's barbecue and you get that smell that you've had 30, 40, 50 years, what do you do now? And then I have over 80 recipes in the back of the book as well. I even talk about my history. Like I was a butcher at one point as well. Like I've done it all, man. Wow. Like I worked at fast food restaurants, burger joints, a butcher. But I talk about all that and I also talk about not beating yourself up for your past, but understanding your past and using that to become a better version of yourself.
Yeah. A lot to unpack there. So a couple things. I too, I don't know, for the not as long as you, but actually maybe I've done intermittent fasting for a long time. And it's also like, it's like a total life hack in terms of like getting your fitness in order. Because the crazy thing is you can train your body to like eat pretty much whenever you want. Like you can train it to eat breakfast and, 3 meals a day or 6 meals a day or 12 meals a day, or you can train it to eat 1 meal a day. And your body is like hyper intelligent. So it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to eat 1 meal a day. It knows how to like have the amount of, caloric energy it needs in order to get to that 1 meal. And I think one of the things I always like to point out is there's no right way to necessarily do like health and fitness. It's like keep testing out a bunch of things, and like when you find things that give you great results, like double down on that, right? You know what I mean? So like similar to you, I started fasting. I kind of have this rule where I'll fast from 11, like anywhere till 11 to 3 p.m. And I kind of just listen to my body when I need that first meal. And then I'll have it. And I usually eat 2 meals a day with like little to no snacking in between. And that's just what really works really well for me. But I know I have plenty of friends who do OMAD, OMAD, 1 meal a day, which is what you're doing. I actually did not know that you did that. That's definitely.
I don't talk about it as much because everybody's a fucking like judge and jury of everything you do. So I bring it up, and then people are like, you have an eating disorder. I'm like, no, I really don't. Like, I'm in the best shape. I'm 45. I'm in the best shape of my fucking life. Like, I'm training for a half marathon in December, and my times are literally faster now than they were when I was running half marathons 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm talking about like and now I've never been a speed demon when it comes to running. That's just not my thing. But I was running literally 13 and a half minute miles. But my goal was to never walk. I was team sloth. I'm still team sloth. It's the fast sloth. And now I actually last week while I was in Vegas, I had to do 3 miles for that training day. And my first mile was like 10:42. But I had stopped to tie my shoes during that first mile. So I factored that in like, okay, that took me a little longer. And I was like, man, what if I pick up the pace just a little bit? And by the second mile, my pace was 9:01. And I'm like, man, I actually feel good. Let me see if I can pick it up a little bit more. Not crazy, but pick it up. And then my final mile was 8:38. Now for me at 6'6", 225, that's fucking great for me. Like like I said, at 45, but I'm also noticing that at being at this age, I concentrate more on like how my foot is striking the ground, bringing my knees up, making sure my hips are flexed, making sure my shoulders are down, my core is tight, breathing is there. Like it's so many different things now at this age that, Rich Roll being a good friend of mine, I remember him talking about, all the things, like he doesn't even run with music. Like I haven't gotten to that point yet. I've never, no.
Yeah, that's some next level shit. I can't do that.
Yeah. I'm not there. Sorry, Rich. I know you're going to hear this. I'm sorry about that, Rich. I'm not there. You're a fucking man. I'm not interested in that. I'm always going to have my music if I can have it. But just concentrate on the small things to make the bigger picture easier. And it comes with the same thing like working out in the gym. Like you start getting that mind muscle connection, things just start to like show up. The muscles get bigger, the fat gets lower, all this stuff. So I've noticed at 45, I'm able to do way more than I was at 35 or 34 and be more effective.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, love that. And I love how you're not like a proponent of like only one way works. Like you're really like, you're like, here are the things that have worked for me, and you're sharing it with people and you're giving them, resources in the book. I think I'm sure the 80 recipes are like super delicious because, tell us about a couple of them.
So I don't know if you've ever, you said you're where you live at. I don't want to say
Santa Cruz.
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't going to say it just in case you had some stalkers, but
yeah, it's fine.
I would say, so I don't know if did you ever eat at Pura Vida in LA?
I'm familiar with it, but I'm not sure.
What's the Italian? It's like the vegan Italian restaurant down there.
Oh no.
in LA, and there's another place called Real Food Daily.
Yes, totally familiar with that one.
So Tara Panzoni is like a great friend of mine, like one of my best friends, to be honest. And so she was the one that actually created the Real Food Daily back in the day, and then she went on to venture on to her own thing with Pure Vita. So her and I collaborated for my 80 recipes. So when I tell you it's good fucking food, it's good fucking food. Like this is that shit that'll be like, oh, if I can have this every day, I'm vegan. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want to just give you, here goes kale, and you sprinkle some lemon juice over it, and here you go, you're vegan. No.
And a block of tofu.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm all about flavor. Like, in all honesty, if somebody tells me like, oh, this here, if you eat this every day, this will give you an extra 20 years. If it's nasty, guess what? I'm not fucking eating it. It just, I don't care how many properties you give me and tell me. But if we can make that taste good and, satiate or whatever things you might have had beforehand, where you like really love those nachos, make a vegan version. So one of the ones I'll say in here is these jackfruit tacos. Crazy good. They're in there. I'll call them Jack You Up tacos. So like all my names too are like these
fun.
And tied to like hip hop. I try to do like I got the Biggie fries, like Biggie Smalls. Like I got the Biggie fries, but like a way to like cook the potatoes to where they're like this different season. Like I believe everything should be a party in your mouth. Hey, I always say that if the food is not a party in your mouth, you don't need to be eating it. It's just that's what it is. So from the Jack Up tacos to there's this quesadilla in there where we use lentils, but the lentils are cooked in coconut milk, so they give it this creamy. You just got to taste it. So
making me hungry. I haven't eaten today yet.
But I tell people like you can eat great, tasty fucking food and still be in shape.
Yeah.
You just got to know your limit too. Like, I think that's one of our biggest problems. I think I saw one of the studies when I was making the documentary is that I think the average American consumes 4,500 calories a day.
Wow.
4,500. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Now, especially 4,500 calories is a lot when the average caloric expenditure is like under 1,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But we don't think about that. You got to take all those factors into play and look at what the damage we're doing to our body.
Yeah. I mean, in my own fitness journey, like I used to eat perfectly clean. And, this is before I went vegan and this is like the pre-vegan perfectly clean. I would eat like broccoli and chicken every meal, every day. And then one day a week, I would have like a cheat day.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that at the time until I got a fitness coach, but I can literally eat, no joke, like 5,000 to 10,000 calories in a day, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wondered why I couldn't get abs. And then I get a fitness coach and he's like, yo, I need you to track your food. I tracked one of my cheat days and I was like, holy shit, 7,500 calories?
You're
like
canceling out all the other days.
Exactly. I completely fucked all the other days with one day thinking like, oh yeah, I'm eating clean 6 days a week. I can go nuts one day. Yeah. But it's like, and it's like you can train your body to eat like lesser calories and be satiated, especially if you're having a party in your mouth every meal. You know what I'm saying? And and then your fitness comes into order, and then you're like, holy shit, like I love the food I eat. I love the way my body looks and feels, and then that becomes sustainable. And you go vegan, you're like, holy shit, not only is like my health and fitness sustainable, but now I'm contributing to the sustainability of the environment, the animals, and like so much more. So I love the message.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And also too, like when you're talking about the whole, I don't necessarily say I eat 1 meal a day. I eat 1 hour a day. So I'll have like 3 meals. Right now, I've been on this big like chicken parmesan thing. And again, vegan chicken for anybody that listens, be like, some troll's gonna be like, oh, I knew it. He's eating chicken. No, it's a vegan chicken parmesan I make. And then I'll make like either these green bean, like I'm a big air fryer person. And so like I'll do like the green beans in the air fryer. I'll bake them. I'll put a little bit of like coconut oil on it. and then I'll do like some herbs and spices on it and make that up. Or like today I'm gonna make Brussels sprouts, but like with a sweet kind of a feel to them. And I think that's another thing too, is that when people go vegan, they're not willing to experiment and fuck up. Like you gotta fuck up. Like
Yeah.
humans are such perfectionists that they don't want to try anything new because they're so used to the old thing. And no matter how bad that old thing is for them, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Like I always say, like you can sleep on a bed of thorns long enough to where you don't even want a pillow mattress because you know that those thorns, how they're gonna feel every night. And you've gotten so used to those thorns that the pillow over there is brand new and scary. But the thorns are something you're used to and it's common. So I think a lot of times when it comes to veganism, same thing. They're scared to try something new. It's like when people go vegan, and I'm sure you've gotten this question too. They're always like, "Man, I'll go vegan, but I need a meal plan." I'm like, "Well, you're not vegan now. Do you have a meal plan?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "So do you think every vegan's walking around like with a meal plan? Like they just don't like that's not how it works. You just eat. Like I said, the first 30 days you have fun and you get into it and you learn more. But it's all about just kind of breaking down that old stereotype of this is scary, so I shouldn't do it. It's like if I know that this is harming me, then I have to go try the new thing.
Hey there, just a few words about the incredible show sponsors for today's episode, and then we'll dig right back in. This show is brought to you by Feel Free from Botanic Tonics. This product is unlike anything I've ever had before. No joke. It's made with kava root and other ancient plants, and just half a shot gives me this incredible sense of focused flow and productivity. And I love to take just half a shot right before I work out. I take it with my pre-workout, and it takes my workouts to the next level. It is seriously unlike anything I've ever had. It's also an incredible productivity tool for any big work projects that you have or long periods of time where you just need to be super focused in flow state and get a lot of shit done. So if you want to give this a shot, you can go to botanictonics.com and use code DRAGON at checkout to get 40% off your first order. No joke, 40% off with code DRAGON. That's Feel Free from botanictonics.com, code DRAGON. Feel free, feel good. Yeah, I mean, when I first went vegan, I actually had so much fun. Like I fell in love with cooking because I was like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. And I'm going to like try making this. And like, I literally like, like cooking became like a meditation to me. And I like fell in love with my food. Like it just like to a level that I'd never experienced before because I was exploring like crazy. And I think that's really important is that exploration, really finding out what your badass vegan lifestyle looks like. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be different. Like what mine looks like is going to be different from what yours looks like, John, and the next person who's a vegan. Before we move on to some of the other things, I did want to ask you, like, what are actually one comment? I'm actually the same as you. So I will actually, for my last meal of the day, I actually make 2 different meals or sometimes even 3, and I'll eat them all together in like one kind of like hour block because it's like, I have the room for the calories and I just enjoy different types of foods. And so it's really interesting. You're like, no, I don't do 1 meal a day. I do 1 hour a day. But so I want to make that comment. And then secondly, because then it's not like, because 1 meal a day sounds kind of boring to people, right?
Right.
But then you just like sussed it out a little bit more. No, you're actually having 3 meals in like a 1 hour block. So my first question is it always 1 hour? Or does it sometimes take like 90 minutes or like, you know what I mean?
I would say it's in general an hour, but I'm also one of those people, I'm not like, if it's not an hour, I got to go repent and like, pray to the vegan gods. Like, oh, I fucked up. How did I let you down? Like, it's not like that. Like, if it does take 90 minutes, okay. Oh, well. I'm not going to beat myself up for it. But in my general intent is to stay within that hour. But if I don't, whatever. And a lot of people they fear the whole fasting and this and that, and it's been scientifically proven it takes the human body 3 weeks to die of starvation. Like
Yeah.
we're resetting every day. We're not going 3 weeks. Nobody is starving themselves. Nobody
Yeah.
is doing that. And I also look at like a great reference for me because people say, "How do you get your mind state to that?" And I go, "For me, this is me again. I'm not telling anybody else to think this way, but for me, knowing I have ancestors that were slaves in this country, and I know that they were out in the fields. They didn't have access to snack meals and like 5 square meals a day and breaking it down. Like they were lucky if they ate once a day,
Yeah.
and they were in the field all fucking day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, what's my excuse to not be able to just do eating this 1 hour a day and still going on with my day? And
Yeah.
that's one of the ways I look at it as well.
And they're probably jacked and ripped.
Yeah.
Like I mean that in the most like respectful way, but like they are probably
The amount of
jacked.
work I had to do, like Paul John Henry was a mythical story, but it was based off of all the work that these black people were doing to make this country great. You know what I'm saying? Behind the scenes, working the railroad system, behind the scenes, working the farming system, behind the scenes, taking care of all these families. They were working hard. And not only were they getting scraps, they weren't eating 5 square meals a day. Now I got my cheat meal here and I got this. No, there was no cheat meal. There was none of this. So I look at that and as an ode to like ancestors, I look at that, you know what I'm saying? And also like looking at just the science of it too, our bodies need breaks. We eat all fucking day. As a culture, we eat all fucking day. Our digestive system never gets a break.
Yeah.
So when your body is digesting, you're taking away energy and blood and nutrients and all this stuff from the rest of your body to focus on digesting that food. And so
Yeah.
when you're not eating, I've noticed that my mental clarity is better. It's crazy. Like you're not thinking of like we as humans, at least in America, we're so fucking greedy that we think about food 24/7. Like we can be eating food, sitting down, eating breakfast. And if a commercial comes on about food, we're like, fuck, that looks good. And we're eating food. We're literally eating food right there, but we're still thinking about it. And that's why it's also like a deconditioning that happens. But I've just noticed that it works so well for me that I just stick to it. Now I don't make my kids eat like that, but that's something that I do.
Yeah. Any tips for people who want to start trying to fast? Like how are some ways that they can train their body to fast? Like, or are there any certain strategies that you employ in your own life to be able to do, 1 hour of eating a day?
It's gonna sound so crazy, but just fucking do it. Like I didn't. People were like, "Man, did you build up to it?" I was like, "No." Nah. Like I would also say, my mentor being who he was made the subject matter more valid. You know what I'm saying? Like I looked at Jim Morris. If anybody Googles Jim Morris while they're listening to this podcast, you'll be like, "Holy shit!" At 84, he was still as ripped up as he was when he was competing on stage, and he was vegan. You know what I'm saying? So when he told me about the whole fasting, like we should have wrote a book 12 years ago when he introduced me to this shit, but we didn't think about it, or 10 years ago, I'm sorry. We didn't think about it. And then somebody comes out with this whole phrase of intermittent fasting. We didn't have a name for it. We were just doing it. But I think just doing it, just going into it. Now, find your sweet spot. Mine is 23 hours fasting, eating 1 hour a day. Yours might be 12 hours fasting, eating 12 hours a day. Yours might be fasting for 8 hours. Whatever that is, find your sweet spot and maybe start off a little slower. And I would say one great tip is that incorporate the time that you sleep as a part of your fasting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think it's so extreme because you're like, oh my God, I wake up and I'm ready to eat. It's like, no, you wake up. You're not necessarily hungry when you wake up because a lot of us eat at midnight, wake up at 6, 7 in the morning. We're ready to eat again. Like the word breakfast is breaking your fast.
Yeah.
Many of us don't fast.
Yeah.
So we're making our body work twice as hard, 3 times as hard because it's not getting a fast.
Yeah. I mean, easy tips from my side is like wake up, have your like last meal, if you're good at it. Like, I'm not good at this personally yet. Like, some people are like, don't eat for 2 to 3 hours before bed. I usually eat right before bed. I know that's supposedly not good for you,
Right.
but I'm like, fairly fit and it's working out all right for me. Maybe eventually I'll turn that around. But like, I wake up and I have my green matcha tea, which has caffeine in it, which blunts my appetite.
Yeah.
And then I work for a few hours. And then I go to the gym and I have my pre-workout, which also has like a little bit of caffeine in it. That
Mhm.
blunts my appetite again. And then when you start working out, it blunts your appetite even more because your body's like, yo, I don't even want to eat right now because we're physically working. Like, we don't want to eat. And then it's like, after that, if I just like, drink some water and rehydrate after my workout, then I still don't need to eat for a few more hours. And then I'll have my first kind of meal anywhere between kind of 11, usually between 11 and 1. Sometimes I push it back to like 2, 3, or even 4. But that's some easy ways.
And to
Question
go
for
on
you.
what you're saying, I don't mean to cut you off, but to go on
Oh,
what you're saying, I think a lot of people that are not physically active look at people that are physically active as like conceited and stuck on themselves and this and that. It's like, no, you don't. I think a lot of times we forget that our body is supposed to be in motion. We're
yeah.
not supposed to be stagnant. But the way society is set up now, we lay in a bed all night, which is good. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't sleep and have a comfortable bed, but we wake up, we most likely will sit down and eat breakfast or sit in a car and eat breakfast in the car. We're rushing off to work where we sit down at work. We go to lunch, we sit down at lunch. We go back to the office, we sit at the office. We get back in the car, drive back home sitting. We get
Yeah.
home, sit down to watch TV, sit down to eat, go to sleep.
Yeah.
Where is the physical activity that your body needs to stay in motion? It's like if you have a car and you never drive that car, but one day you need that car for an emergency to get out of a hurricane, to get out of a tornado, whatever it is, you got to drive to the other side of the country. Do you think that car is just going to be like, hey, let's go now? You haven't changed the oil. You haven't put the right gas in it. You haven't even rolled it around the block a couple times to make sure it works. Your body is the first machine ever put on this earth. Everything after that is just a replica to help the body work better, all the way down to the remote control. The remote control is literally an adaptation to make life easier for us. The car was an adaptation to make us not have to walk everywhere. Now, I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm walking everywhere, but at the same time, you got to be physically active. And that will eliminate half the problems right there. Then you start putting the right fuel in. Now you got a machine that's well oiled, well fueled, and it's being used and it's well conditioned.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple thoughts on that. One, I think you mentioned in one of your other interviews that I listened to, like, even if you don't like your TV, if you don't turn it on, and you said this, if you don't turn it on for a year and you try to turn that on, it won't even turn on. Or
Yeah.
it might, but it's going to take forever to warm up. So that's like one point that you made in another interview that I thought was genius. And like, our bodies are totally designed to move. So for me, I like, people like often ask me like, how do you stay so fit? And I'm like, well, I get 20,000 steps a day.
Yep.
Basically every day. And they're like, well, how the fuck do you do that? Well, the first thing I do is I have one of those stationary bike desks. And so the
Yeah.
first 40 to 60 minutes of my day, I literally put my Garmin tracker on my ankle and I start pedaling and I work on my computer. And like, I'll like 60 minutes will go by and like, I'll be like, holy shit, like, I
Right.
didn't even know 60 minutes went by and I've already put on like 8,000 steps. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like before I even like started my day. Then like another tip is like anytime I can take a work call while walking,
Yeah.
I just take that shit while walking. I
Yeah.
also like, I do so much work on my phone. Like I'll be like, sweet, can I like step on a treadmill and work on my phone? Like I do so much social media on like a treadmill or a Stairmaster or whatever. Cause it's like, I may as well be moving while I'm sitting here working on this like magical little machine. I mean, it's mobile as fuck. Like why not like move while I'm working? And our brains think better when we move, right? Like when I walk and talk with people, like my like ability to like ideate and innovate and problem solve is so much higher than when I'm just like sitting.
Yeah. And you mentioned about the steps. Did you ever look into like why the importance of 10,000 steps is so important?
Mm-mm.
So there were studies done, and so like everybody talks about, oh, you need 10,000 at least, and that's dope. But you're getting 20 because you're doubling it up. But so the importance of 20,000, 10,000 steps is that the studies that were done, I can't remember the exact name of the studies, but I'm sure somebody can Google it. And if I'm off by 1 or 2 steps, sorry, y'all. But 10,000 steps for the most part. So if you are getting less than 3,000 steps per day, your mortality rate is actually 75% higher than somebody getting 10,000 steps.
Wow.
75% higher. just by not getting at least 3,000 steps. The crazy thing is, if you increase that 3,000 steps to 6,000 steps, you basically drop down from the 75% to 25% mortality rate over somebody with 10,000 steps. If you get the whole 10,000 steps, you drop your mortality rate all the way down to like 6%. So imagine just by doing 10,000 steps a day, you haven't even gotten gym yet. You haven't even eaten right yet. You haven't even drank enough fluids yet. Just by getting the 10,000 steps. And it doesn't matter if you walk, crawl, flip, skip, whatever it is, run. As long as you get those 10,000 steps, you're basically making your body from the tip of your toe to the top of your hair. You're making it work, because people don't even realize, like, in order to move your big toe for a step, the amount of activity that has to go from your brain to your heart, to your neurons, all of that. So imagine if you're doing 10,000 of those a day, you're keeping that machine, again, we are a machine. You're keeping that machine in motion. That's why you can see these classic cars out on the street that look beautiful and still run beautiful. But you got the old hoopties that nobody took care of, and they run like shit, and they're on the side of the road stuck. It's because they didn't take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And like when I'm pedaling on my bike desk, it's like on the easiest setting. I'm literally just trying to get my body to be moving while I'm working. And it's not like I'm sitting there sweating. I'm just like, just easily pedaling. And you're totally right. It activates like all these different parts of my brain. And it's just something I had to train myself to do. When I first sat down and tried to type on my laptop and like pedal at the same time, my brain was like, oh, this is too much going on. But then after like, you know, a couple days of like kind of training myself to do it, now it's like second nature and I don't even think about it. I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned you eat out occasionally, and I'm just thinking like, how does John Lewis, the badass vegan, like eat out? How do you do that? Do you just do dinner, or like, what do you do?
You know, it really depends on what's going on for me. Like if I'm really, really focused on like a goal, well, I can go out with people while they eat and I'm okay. Like there's been many times where I'll be at a restaurant with somebody and I don't eat a thing. But I don't want to be the party pooper either, so I still come out with everybody. Or there are times where like I might be out of the country and there may be a restaurant. I'm like, oh, well, I won't be back in London for a while, or I won't be back in Africa for quite some time, or wherever it is I'm at. Then I'll make sure to like get that hour of eating around that time when everybody's going to eat, and I'll adjust. But it really just depends on like location and what kind of goal I have going on. Like right now I have a big goal of like 8% body fat. I know it sounds superficial. It's just something that I want to accomplish for myself. At my age, I want to make sure.
Hey, nothing wrong with that in my opinion.
Like I want to, and I also want to show that it can be done. I think that's a big thing too. Like a lot of my motivation comes from, I remember when I was like down and out and I didn't think it could be done. So a lot of times it just helps to see somebody doing that goal. So that's why a lot of times I'm always motivated to push so far.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I just like, I want to show people that like you can be married and you can have like a full-time like career and calling, and you can still be in great shape. And like, you know, another one of mine is like, you can be wealthy and fit. Like a lot of people are like, oh, you can be wealthy and rich, but then you can't be fit at the same time. I'm like, yeah, right. That's like, there's tons of people who are rich and fit. Like, so I totally hear you that. All right. Well, let's transition a little bit to the documentary, because I want to make sure we cover that before I gotta let you go. So you made this incredible documentary called They're Trying to Kill Us. Like, right now it's not even available for anyone to see. Tell us what the documentary is about, and then let's talk about like when do we actually get to see it.
So the documentary is about talking about our system, whether it's food justice and social justice, but we're talking about it through the lens of hip hop and urban culture. So a lot of people don't understand, like, we listen to everything that hip hop does, from what they wear to where they travel to, the cars they drive, the clothes, everything. But a lot of times we don't think about what they eat. There are a lot of hip hop artists that do not incorporate meat or dairy into their lifestyle. A lot of them are vegan, and they understand the reasons why. So we really tapped into that. I was very fortunate to get Chris Paul, NBA All-Star, to be an executive producer. And I was also very fortunate to have Billie Eilish as executive producer. So two powerful names to help carry this voice and to help propel the voice of the documentary. And we've been working on distribution for quite some time. The film, it took us about 5.5 years to make it. For anybody that's seen What the Health, this is the official follow-up film to that. My co-director is Keegan Coon, who directed What the Health as well. And so right now we're just working on distribution. A lot of networks are scared of it, understandably so. We had one network we had a Zoom call with. The president of that network told us that it was the best documentary they've ever seen. So powerful. It would help to heal not only the Black community, but the community at large. And while they wanted this film on their network, they would need to cut out like 30 minutes of the film. So at first I'm like, okay, 30 minutes. All right. It is a little long. I understand. And then they carry on and they go, yeah, because even though we fact check everything is correct in the film, we did see that this would be a direct conflict with our main advertisers. I'm like, wait a minute, you just said that this would heal the world or help heal the community, but you're worried about advertising dollars. And when I tell you this network is literally probably one of the richest networks out there, and I'm like, but you're worried about advertising dollars. I'm like, wow. So that's a little hurdle that we're going right now, but we do have an amazing team that's working on it to get the distribution. And we should know within a year. We actually just had a contract signed over that we're working with somebody now, and which reminds me, I got to sign that today and send it back. So thanks for the reminder. But hopefully, by the end of the year, we should know the destination and the launch date. And it would be great to launch it around the same time as my book, but there's no guarantees with that right now.
Can you give us a little bit insight into kind of like what's going on in, when it comes to food and kind of these, I don't know what the PC term is, but marginalized ethnicities or peoples or like however you want to frame it. You probably know a better way to say it than me, but like what's actually going on?
So, it's been proven. This is not a vegan agenda. This is not anything that like, a lot of times, anytime a vegan says something, they're automatically like, oh, that's vegan agenda. It's like, no, this is just fucking facts. This is what's going on. So like, Black males are at a higher rate, exponentially higher in danger of heart disease than its white counterparts. Black women are exponentially higher mortality rates when it comes to childbirth. There's so many different factors, whether it's heart disease, hypertension, cancer, diabetes. It's this big bullshit network of corporations, insurance companies, government collusion to basically keep a community sick. Now, the funny part is that, and I don't mean funny as in haha, but funny as in like, what the fuck? There's this funny notion that all these things are working together to make a community sick because there's more money there. There's no money in health. There's no money in the cure. But there's more money in keeping people malnutrition, sickly, in need of what's going on. Because let's be honest, as much as people think that veganism is like this big cult or this big scam or whatever it is, at the end of the day, if vegans only make up 5% of the world or 5% of the population, and we're being nice by saying 5%, we know we're not that many. If we're saying that vegans make up 5% of the world, guess who's not keeping the hospital industry in business or the pharmaceutical industry in business or keeping the insurance company in business? It's not vegans. It's by providing all of these bullshit foods to these people and then basically charging them extra for getting sick off of the food that they're paying the subsidies for you to eat cheaper to make you eat more of it. Then you also got the pharmaceutical companies that are charging. This country charges more for pharmaceuticals than any other nation in the world. And you have to also remember that America is one of only 2 countries that allows for advertising of pharmaceuticals. And then we dug even deeper to find out that insurance companies in America have over $1.9 billion invested into, guess what corporation? I want you to guess just to see before the audience gets a whiff of this. What corporation would you think that the insurance companies had $1.9 billion invested in?
Pfizer.
No. How about this? How about fast food companies?
Oh, Jesus. Are you kidding
Not
me?
fucking kidding. All been fact proven. So basically, the insurance companies have $1.9 billion invested in the fast food companies. So what that allows them to do is they charge you a higher premium if you get sick off of the food that they're already making money off of when you fucking buy it. And then not only
That's
that,
fucked
that's
up.
totally fucked up. And then not only that, they charge you for the surgery, the copay for the food that you were eating that they paid for and subsidized for you to eat in the first place. $1.9 billion. And then they think that veganism is like this big corrupt thing. It's like, no, follow the real money. Like, I'm not a millionaire by telling you to go eat plants. That's not happening. So that's just one little scope of what we hit in the film. And then we also look at, like, you know, you got all these corporations that are basically cross-hiring these CEOs. You got the CEO of Pepsi is now the CEO of Pfizer. You got the CEO of Eli Lilly, now the president of Coca-Cola. And it's like, well, if these companies have nothing to do with each other, why are they crossing these CEOs and having each other work for each other? Because they're like, oh, you know what? I know what worked over here at this pharmaceutical company. Let me go tell you what's going to work over here with Coca-Cola too. Because it's all poison at the end of the day. What did I say? It's all big drug dealers.
Yeah.
And that's all they're doing is they're just pushing out drugs to you to make it more pleasurable. And then these drugs at the end of the day too, with these pharmaceutical companies, one thing that they never say at the end of these commercials, when they give all these side effects or things of like that nature, one thing that we never really pay attention to is these commercials never say they cure anything. They help you deal with the symptoms of. So while you're taking this drug, you're still fucking sick. You're still going down a dark alley. You're still going down this rabbit hole. And then when you start taking it, those side effects that you get, guess what you got to do when you get the side effects? You need another drug to deal with the side effects. So now you just had high cholesterol. That's what you started off with. Now you're taking 16 pills because you had high cholesterol. Because now you got to deal with the headache that you get by taking the high cholesterol pill. And the headache also gives you fucking arthritis. So you got to take a pill for that shit. And then now you got leaky gut. So you got to take a pill for that shit too. And you got a toothache. When at the end of the day, guess what's one thing you can do to stop from having high cholesterol? Stop fucking ingesting cholesterol. Wow. There's a thought.
Yeah.
But they're not going to tell you that because they got so much money invested in it.
Hey there, just a few words about the incredible show sponsors for today's episode, and then we'll dig right back in. Today's show is brought to you by Fit Rich Vegan. If you're ready to get in the best shape of your life, double your income, and 10x your savings and investments, then this is the coaching program for you. But wait a minute, Dragon. Isn't this your coaching program? Heck yeah, it is. I spent the last 8 years mastering my fitness and my finances, and I've built an incredible coaching program with an incredible team to help you get the body of your dreams and finally achieve that level of financial success that you've been seeking. So if you want to find out if you're a good fit for the program, go to fitrichvegan.com and book your free consultation today. Or you can just DM me on Instagram with the words Fit Rich Vegan, and we can chat about if it's going to be a good fit for you. I'm committed to empowering people to actually achieve their fitness and financial goals. I spent the last 20 years trying to figure this out on my own. And what I realized is the key to doing it is not doing it alone. You have to have coaches, you have to have mentors, and you have to be a part of masterminds. And that's exactly what Fit Rich Vegan has. It has coaches, mentors, and it is a mastermind. So again, if you're ready to book your free consultation today, go to fitrichvegan.com or drop me a DM on Instagram. Yeah. And then they pay for the studies that show like ingesting cholesterol has like no effect or is actually good for you.
Incredible edible.
Or they fund all the studies that say, they fund all the studies that say, hey, eating these things doesn't affect your health. Just like the cigarette companies used to like fund studies that say like cigarettes have no effect on your health.
No.
There was plenty of studies.
Even more fucked up, doctors used to prescribe cigarettes for weight loss. They would literally write you a prescription and say, oh, you having trouble with weight loss? I got something for you right here. Go grab these fucking sticks, burn the end of them. They got 85 ingredients in it. Don't worry about that cancer thing. We're just going to prescribe that to you. You'll be fine. So, yeah, like it's so crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And you're right. Just follow the money. Like, you know what I mean? There's no money in big kale or big broccoli. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no money. I mean, I'm sure some farmers are doing all right, but they're not getting rich like off big broccoli.
Yeah, like, it's not like somebody's going on a talk show like, how'd you make your first million? Ha! Broccoli and kale, bitch. Like, no, that's not that's not that's not it. That's not it.
Yeah. All right. Let's cover one last subject or so. Tell us a little bit. You got a fitness app coming with Tori Washington. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Tori Washington, one of my best friends in this world, man. We've been through, hell and high water together. Like, but we've always worked out together. We've always trained with each other, trained each other. And so I had an idea one day. I was like, man, we do so much together. We've never done this. And let's take this to the next step with the clientele he has, the clientele I've had. And it's just going to be an all-encompassing fitness resource, whether it's the recipes, whether it's just articles, whether it's actual training protocols for people, individualized as well as general. But we're just going to go down that whole scope of providing the number one plant-based resource for people to just, get their fitness on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to add, and this is no knock on anybody else doing it, because I love everybody in the industry, whether it's Nimai, whether it's whoever. It's just something that we're doing. I believe that there's an abundance for everyone, to where whether it's a fitness app, whether it's a protein shake company, like Nimai, I tell you, like I'm one of those people, like he has veg. I love veg nutrition. I posted veg on my page before, and I have my own shit. Like I'm not one of those people that think like it's got to be my way or there's no way. Like I believe we all can cater to somebody, because what one person loves in me, they may hate in someone else, or what they love in someone else, they may hate in me. So I think we all need to, or I'll say dislike. Let's not use the word hate. They just dislike. And I think across the board, I think that's what.
Or they don't resonate.
Exactly.
You know what I
mean?
mean?
That's what it is. Everybody has their own tribe. It's funny. And it's funny. I had somebody comment, because I commented on somebody else's page. I was like, yeah, that's right, man. Your tribe is very important. And somebody, of course, some troll was like, that word tribe is so cringe. And I said, well, I would rather use the word tribe, where everyone is equal, than the word follower, where somebody is sitting above somebody else. Like, I like the word tribe. I don't like follower. I hate that word follower. I'm no leader to nobody, and nobody's my under me. I don't want to ever talk like that. I would rather have tribe, where we're all equal and we all have a voice.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, just a couple closing questions for you before I let you go. What is your fit, rich vegan life? Like, what does that incorporate? Because you're both fit, you're rich in life, you're doing all sorts of business. Like, kind of like, what does that look like to you?
You know what's funny, man? I would have to say, out of all the people that I try to encourage to be fit, and all the people that I encourage to follow their dreams and go get it, it means shit if my kids don't accomplish that. So I think that's the biggest thing. Is like, I want to be an example to so many people to do well and do great, but what good is that if I'm doing all that and then my kids don't learn the lessons that I'm trying to teach everyone else in the world? So while I'm out trying to make sure that the world is a better place, I also want to make sure that my kids are incorporating that, because I hear it so many times, and I'm very fortunate that I learned from business minds a long time ago, is that it makes no sense to be so successful in business and yourself if your family's not reaping that benefit too. And I don't mean a financial benefit. I mean like a health, a mental benefit, incorporating, like, I want my kids to understand that they can be happy, and it doesn't come down to a bank account. It doesn't come down to a car. It doesn't come down to the clothes they have on. Their happiness is up to them in their mind, what they want to be happy. And your happiness should not endanger any other life to make you happy. You can be happy all on your own. It's a mind state. So I'm gonna say that's my thing, is my children.
Yeah.
Pax and Mars. I want them to make sure that they're okay and mentally happy and healthy.
Yep. Roman gods.
Roman gods, man. Peace and war.
Love it. Another kind of related question is how do you proactively design and live your best life? So obviously, for you, your fasting is part of that. Like, what are kind of some of the other things that you do every day? It seems like you work out quite frequently. Like walk us through some of the kind of routines and rituals that you like to incorporate, like every day, or at least a few times a week, that really make sure that you're living your best life.
I would say daily, one of the biggest things that I do that I've learned that has helped me along my journey is I talk to myself in the most accountable but positive way that I can. Like, if I fuck up on something, I will literally be like, John, you fucked up, but we can do better. Let's go. Like, I think that's one of our biggest problems. We don't want to admit that we have a fault. We don't even want to admit it to ourselves in a room by ourselves with nobody else listening. We don't want to admit that we fucked up. But you can't improve unless you admit to the fuck ups. So I'm always like, damn, I fucked up. Okay, what do we gotta do to get better? And it's that positive affirmation to myself that I'm never gonna be perfect, but that doesn't stop me from striving to be perfect.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, positive self-talk, and accountability, that's huge, right? Like, I think a lot of people get stuck in, like, they have poor self-talk. So they're like, oh, you suck, you're terrible, like, why'd you fuck up there? Instead of like, hey, you messed up, let's own it, but like, we can do better. So let's go do better. And it's like being your own positive coach, right? You can have a coach that's like, oh, you fucking are terrible, you suck. And like, that's like the worst coach to play for. But if you have a coach who's like, hey, you fucked up that play, like, here's the drills that we're going to do to get better, so we don't do that again. I know you got this in you. Like, which one do you want to play for?
Yeah. Right? And at the end of the day, there is no such thing as love without self-love. Like, if you're not loving yourself, it doesn't matter what somebody else tries to do. You'll never feel that love. Like, I like to use this as an example. If you think about it, if you're in a wrong state of mind, it doesn't matter who's around you, who's trying to love you, who's trying to give you love. It's actually annoying to you. When you're in a fucked up state of mind, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be the most beautiful girl in the world. It could be your kid. It could be your parent. Whatever it is, that shit is fucking annoying because you just want to live in that pity and you don't want to be out of that pity. But once you find that self-love and once you find that button that is like, you know what? If I love myself, that's going to make everything else in the world work. But we're also taught by society that we need these clothes and we need this product and we need this car and we need this house and we need a certain person on our arm. There's so many things that we need outside validation in order for us to be happy. But in reality, I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what deity you follow. I don't care what path you take. If you don't have self-love, it's all a waste of time. Because now when you have self-love, not only can you receive love from other people, but you can actually love the world and the people and the animals and the planet and all this other shit once you have the self-love. But if it's a fake love that you got going on in yourself and it's a conceited ego thing, you'll never see it.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I've gone through my own kind of like practice of learning to love and accept myself just as I am. It's been a long journey, but it's been one of the most valuable journeys.
And
I really appreciate that
to go with
message.
what you're saying, holding yourself accountable doesn't mean that you can't call yourself out, and it doesn't mean that you love yourself less, like what we said earlier. Like, it doesn't mean you love yourself less because you're holding yourself accountable. I think we got to get to the point where loving yourself really means, oh shit, I'm not perfect, and that's okay. And loving yourself also means that you can love yourself where you're at right now and still love the future you if you apply the work and apply the knowledge and apply everything you learn and go hard. That doesn't mean you hate yourself because you're like, oh, I want to improve. That has nothing to do with hating yourself.
Yep, I agree. I found in my own journey, the more I loved myself into shape, the better shape I got. I spent most of my life up until kind of my, early to mid 30s, like trying to hate myself into shape or beat myself into shape. And then I finally started loving myself into shape, and I got in like the best shape of my life. And I was like, God damn, I spent so many years hating my body. And like, if I just brought more love, and, it would have been a lot faster of a journey. But
and when you love yourself,
we're all on our own journeys.
When you love yourself, you also start to get to that point of like, I'm not putting that in my fucking body. I love myself. I'm not putting this on my body. I fucking love myself. I'm not putting myself in that situation over there because I love myself. Like, you also start to figure that out. And that's a huge piece. And then you start to really be proud of yourself. Every time you turn down that thing that you know is not going to benefit you, it's like an accomplishment. Every time. There's no small victory. You really start to love everything you do. Like, damn right I did that shit. Oh, I did 20,000 steps today. Fuck yeah. 20,000 steps. Everything feels good because you love everything you're doing. And even when you fuck up, you're like, you know what? I fucked that up. I can laugh it off. I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back stronger.
Yeah. Awesome, brother. Anything else, or any other last words of wisdom or anything you'd like to share with the audience before we land this plane?
Well, words of wisdom would consider that I'm actually wise, so I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen with that. But I would say I can't pound it in enough of just self-love, man. Like I said, we can't make the world better. Like, so many people want the world better, but they're not willing to work on themselves to make the world better. It's like we're real quick to look at everybody else's actions and be like, man, why isn't anybody over there making this world better? It's like, well, if you start with you right now where you're at to make yourself better, that can be infectious to, even if it's just one person. Do that, and you're going to make somebody else go, damn, I thought John was a piece of shit, but I see him doing so much better. If he can do it, why the fuck can't I do it? And then that's a trickle effect. And I think people don't realize that. It's like, once we improve ourselves and own that shit, it's so powerful to own who you are, because it's going to pass on to somebody else, and they're going to own who they are, and they're going to become a better version of themselves. And that's how we infect the world positively to where we make a change. So loving yourself is the key to all of it, man.
Amen, brother. Well, the audience can find your book on Amazon and all the other popular booksellers. It's coming out March 14th, 2023. Yep. Hopefully we'll have the documentary, They're Trying to Kill Us, by, the beginning of 2023. I'll keep my fingers crossed and my prayers for that happening as well. You're badass vegan pretty much all over the internet if people want to find you and connect with you. I would say probably Instagram's the best place to go for people to connect with you, or is there another spot?
Oh, yeah. Instagram's, I even have Pinterest. Shit, I got badass vegan everywhere, man. I just wanted to make sure that people can find me wherever. But if they ever need to email me, my email address is john@badassvegan.com. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, like I said, Pinterest. No telling. A lot of times I don't even want to be on these apps or pages, but I figure I better do it before somebody else takes the name and does something else with it. So, yeah, you can find me everywhere, man.
Awesome. John, thank you so much for coming on the show. I deeply appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in. And remember, literally everything can be used as an opportunity to learn, to heal, to grow, and to transform. So whatever is going on in your life, choose to consciously and proactively harness that energy and use it to alchemize your life to the next level. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend or on your favorite social media and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. As always, you can find me at Justin David Carl on Instagram and all the socials, as well as at alchemizelife.com on the web. Until the next time, sending you lots of energy and plenty of dragon magic.